Hey, what's going on, everybody? Alex with you here again, as usual. Thank you for dropping by for yet another chess video. In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about finding some of the ways to improve our chess score, especially for people that are like beginning chess players, and those people that might be otherwise getting a little bit frustrated if they don't see necessarily their rating go up to where they would like. Kind of talk a little bit about the different perspectives and the things that I've thought about that hopefully will be interesting to some people. I may not necessarily be 100% correct, but if you do feel like you agree on some points, what I'm going to be describing to you shortly here, hit that like button and comment below. See if you could totally destroy my idea if you want to. That's fine with me. I'd actually be happy to hear maybe the alternative, but let's just start off with, I have my little piece of paper over here, and I want to I want to introduce the idea of this graph that I've came up with. And I know this graph is not me personally, but if we take, this is going to be the time interval, let's say of 1 year, or whatever time interval we choose. And this right here is going to be the chess rating, being this might be the highest that you can achieve. And this here is going to be the absolute zero. This is the starting point. Well, what happens if you've never played chess before? You're starting at your zero, okay? So hopefully you guys will see this. And as you guys are starting to play chess, let's say you've been playing chess for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever may be the case. What you notice, and this not only applies to chess, but it applies to pretty much everything else, if you think about it. Any type of an activity or hobby that has a level of proficiency that can be achieved, generally what ends up happening, whether it's video games, whether it's skateboarding, whether it's whatever, what happens is we start off and we get a pretty steep slope upwards pretty immediately, like within the first couple of months or so. And then we get this sort of a peak, and that peak happens, like I said, it happens everywhere. We get this peak right here where we have achieved a certain level of expertise in this, and we're feeling good because we're like, wow, look at this steep curve. We are learning so quickly. I mean, agree with me. If you haven't played chess in forever, and all of a sudden you start playing chess, and you're like, whoa, I'm going up like 150 ELO in a week. That's great, fantastic. Then you reach this point right over here where something happens, whether or not you just get tired, you lose the motivation for some reason, or, God knows what happens. But then suddenly this little curve starts to drop down. Okay, pretty much the same thing. It drops down, but then it doesn't go to zero where you started. A lot of times it just keeps dropping, okay? And it drops, and maybe it'll kind of even out, and then what happens is that you started off here and you notice that you've spent like an enormous amount of time, and you're spending a lot of time to play the games that you're playing, and your rating doesn't seem to be going up. And then only eventually that curve will start to come back up, and if you stay consistent, it will eventually start to create a new path and rise, and you'll end up higher than this, but it's going to take a while. And this big area right over here is where most of the people fall off, somewhere down here. Okay, somewhere where they've actually ended up lower than when they started. It's the same thing goes on in like bodybuilding too. I've spent many years in the gym, many years, and if I'm coming back for some reason and I haven't done certain activities like bench press or something, in the first couple of days you're like, wow, I'm really weak, and then next week you come in and you're like, holy crap, I'm like so much stronger. And then next week you're like, whoa, I'm doing like a tremendous increase. And then all of a sudden it starts to go down. And then you keep doing, you're like, what's going on? I was doing so great right over here. And then I plunge. I plunged, and you don't understand. Well, part of it has to do with motivation. Okay, I'm going to drop this down. Part of it I feel like has to do with motivation. If you do something long enough, your initial enthusiasm as far as what you wanted to achieve kind of starts to fade, especially if the results are not panning out. You're spending a lot more work, and your expectation out of your own progress is like here because of the initial rise, and then the reality is that it's kind of a low. It's normal. It's normal. It's part of the way that things are, and if you stick around long enough, then you'll eventually be where you want to be, hopefully. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today is basically the idea, okay, I'm going to backtrack this and hopefully maybe some of you guys will find this interesting. In no way or no how am I giving you guys advice to take up what I've taken up, and this video should not be confused for being like a medical recommendation video. That is going to be my sort of my disclosure. Okay, so don't if you want to try something like this, by all means, you're more than happy to do so. But if you are having any medical issues, then definitely consult with your physician or whatever. But yeah, so here's what I want to talk to you guys about. About a year ago or so, I ended up buying this spin bike. I've got my coffee, see, I got my brownie. This is kind of a very laid back time. I inquired a spin bike, a $2,000 spin bike on Facebook Marketplace in the neighborhood for $100, and the lady even delivered it because they were moving somewhere to a smaller house. So that was like a win-win-win for me. In fact, some other people inquired, but I was the first. So it was the best purchase I've probably made in forever. I've used that bike almost every day. I can count the days during the month when I don't use it. And what I do is I get on the bike and I don't hold the handles anymore. It started off with me like, it was kind of boring a little bit, because if you start biking like that and you do it for an extended period of time, boring to like look at a wall. So then I started watching movies, and movies were okay, but then kind of got boring. Then I found some videos of people actually biking. It's like a virtual biking thing, and that was interesting for a little while. Until I bought a little tiny tablet and I started reading books. And I've read a lot of books now, more than 15 books in the past year, and all kinds of classics and stuff. And I feel like I'm benefiting from reading and cycling at the same time. Almost every single day I cycle for 1 hour. I used to bodybuild a lot. I used to just go and pick up some heavy dumbbells and do all the exercises, but I stopped that because I don't have the time, and I really, quite frankly, didn't have the energy. Because if you cycle for an hour, you're burning through pretty much all your carbohydrates, and you're just sort of left with feeling okay, but you're kind of weak. What happened is, in the beginning, it was fine. I would work out for an hour, and that was great. And I would go about my day, and I would feel better. But as time went on, because I've been doing it pretty much every day for the past year, what ended up happening is I started feeling more and more weak. I relied on the energy drinks to kind of keep me up. I relied on coffee, and the reality is that I was feeling more down, more sort of fatigued mentally and physically. I was just, I don't know, it was hard for me to do stuff. In fact, I knew it was because of the biking, because if I stopped biking for a couple of days, I would have so much more energy. I would kind of bounce back. But I felt like the biking was good for my heart, and I wanted to do that and stay with it, because let's face it, if you're doing something consistently, dropping it and picking it back up later is a lot harder than just continuing to do it every day. But anyways, so I started noticing that I was doing okay at chess, but as I got more and more fatigued, so to speak, I started blundering more, and I started just kind of making more plain direct mistakes, and I felt like it had to do with the fact that I was just more fatigued. Okay, I was more fatigued. My brain was not focusing as much, and I was okay. I was okay with losing. I could lose many games, and then I stopped the energy drinks completely, because I felt like it just wasn't helping me. I still drink coffee, but I bought some vitamins. So I bought these whole food vitamins. These were the vitamins that I've taken before. They work well for me because they don't give you that rush that some of the other vitamins give you, like the Alive ones. They'll give you a crazy rush, but you want something that you can sort of take every day for like as long as you need to, without you having any side effects. And so I bought these. And then the conclusion is where I'm kind of leading this video to, is that I bought some protein powder. Okay, now there's a whole lot of different protein powder varieties out there. There's organic plant, whey, depending on if you're allergic to whey or if you have some kind of other allergies. There's a protein powder pretty much for every one of you guys out there. And what I've noticed is that I would start taking this protein powder. Now, you could say, well, okay, well, you're not really bodybuilding. Why are you taking protein powder? Because I feel like by doing what I'm doing, I'm sort of almost like destroying myself in a way. I mean, you could say that. I'm just sort of plateauing down and down and down slowly in the food that I eat. And now, don't get me wrong, I cook pretty much most of my meals here in the house. I cook steak, chicken. I don't do deep fried. I try to eat healthy. I don't smoke. I don't drink alcohol, not a drop. And so my lifestyle is I eat relatively healthy. I exercise, and yet every single day I felt more and more tired. So I decided I'm going to start supplementing with a scoop of protein daily and see where that takes me. So I've been doing it for a couple of weeks, and that's why this video is kind of sort of more or less experimental. If you guys are interested in the outcome of where we're going to end up, please by all means comment and tell me, hey, can you do sort of a continuation of this video after you take protein powder for a couple of months, and tell us. Because I started to feel like I have a little bit more energy by taking the protein powder. And by having a little bit more energy, I also feel like you have a little bit more energy in your mind as well to be able to play games a little bit better. Where am I going with this? You guys are like, why is he dragging this video out unnecessarily? It's because of the fact that I feel that there might be something to this. I recently watched a video on some person, some big person or somewhere, that they were saying that grandmasters in chess, when they're playing their competitive games, they have been shown to be like not consuming, but burning through like up to 6,000 calories per day just sitting there playing chess. And that is very much so what you would expect, because the brain is thinking hard. It's kind of like a muscle, you know. You're playing chess. It's the same thing as if I took a dumbbell and was sitting here and you know, working out my bicep. If I was playing chess for 5 hours a day every day, eventually the same thing with the curling, like my bicep would just weaken out and get smaller. It wouldn't get bigger, because you are depleting your brain of the ability, or like the opportunity to regain what it's losing by playing the games. Because when you play the games and you're thinking, at least in my sort of thought process, is that you're sort of depleting you know, your energy supplies. You're depleting, if there's proteins in the brain, you're depleting those, you're burning through it. And then if you're tired on top of that, you know, it could be that's why we're going through this plateau. You know, it could be that every one of us is doing this because we start playing chess, but we may consider getting some kind of a protein or a protein drink, or maybe some vitamins as well. But in my opinion, a protein drink, so that maybe it would help, maybe it wouldn't. Like I said, I just started last week, and I'm going to continue taking the protein and see what happens to like my overall well-being and how I feel. But also I want to see how that reflects upon my ability to play, because I like I said, I feel like I'm just sort of plateauing down, and I want to see if taking protein powder would change that, you know. So if you guys have thought of this before, if you're taking protein powder while playing the games, then let me know how your outcome was. But I think there might be something to it. So anyways, hopefully I have sort of created a question in your mind, something to think about. And if you're interested in the follow-up to this, be sure to comment below and let me know like that you probably want to see the continuation of this experiment, so to speak. And I'll let you guys know whether or not there's anything to it. Okay? Anyways, thank you for stopping by. As always, great to see you guys. Great to see you guys join me in these videos. And be sure to stay safe, play more chess, and I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Bye-bye.